Clarence Thomas ruled on a massive bribery case while accepting those vacations. Now, to be fair, back in 2016, it was a unanimous decision, which either means that maybe it wasn't a big deal, or maybe all of them are accepting gifts like this. ProPublica, get on that, please. But anyway, we also find out that that same GOP billionaire, Harlan Crow, again, how is that not a villain in like a 1950s murder mystery? Anyway, didn't just fund Clarence Thomas's vacations and his wife's political PAC. He also gave thousands of dollars to Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. What a small world when it comes to corruption. Oh, by the way, also Henry Cuellar, how fun. Also, we found out that ProPublica was not actually the first outlet to investigate these gifts. The LA Times did 20 years ago. And do you know what's interesting about that? It was immediately after that reporting 2 decades ago that Clarence Thomas stopped reporting the gifts. And I want you to bear that in mind as we turn to his response to this entire thing, because Clarence Thomas has now responded to ProPublica's corruption research into him, their profile of these millions of dollars of gifts and trips he was given. And here's what he had to say. He said that Crow and his wife Kathy Crow, man, that's something, are dearest friends who they've joined on family trips. Early in my tenure at the court, I sought guidance from my colleagues and others in the judiciary and was advised that this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court, which he very much does constantly, by the way, was not reportable. I have endeavored to follow that counsel throughout my tenure and have always sought to comply with the disclosure guidelines. He has not been complying with them, by the way. So maybe he tried and failed, but he didn't do it. He noted that he would now comply with changes made to disclosure rules that were announced last month. Would he if the reporting had not come out? But anyway, his cover story is, hey, during my early years, I talked to other people and they said this is totally cool, which is an interesting story, not a true story, because apparently he did disclose gifts and trips for, I'm gonna say 14 years or so. I don't know how you define early years, but it was only in the early 2000s when the LA Times profiled some of the gifts and trips he'd been given that he stopped complying with it. So that story was obvious BS. It's also verifiable BS because it doesn't actually match the historic record. Bro, what do you think?
You skipped my favorite quote, which is the Crow himself saying, I just knew he was a fan of Frederick Douglass and I saw that item come available at an auction and I bought it for him. This is the same argument as if you said, I heard he liked money, so I gave him money. That's what a bribery is. You give them things they want to develop. Here's a thing of value. And how do I know it has value? I know how much you bought it for and you gave it to him. And you are getting closer and closer to him. This is how the corruption works. It is the banality of evil. But these are just people who hang out. And it just confirms everyone's worst fears that there's this glad handing. And what they don't understand is that they should have a different worst fear, which is that partisanship dictates the selective outrage.
Yeah, this would have been my garbage person, except it broke too late for me to have the graphic made. So all that we know from the ProPublica thing about Clarence Thomas, I wish I could show this to you because this is a tweet from CNN Politics that I saw before we went live. Judge Juan Marchand, the judge overseeing Donald Trump's criminal case in New York, donated $35 in political contributions to Democrats in 2020, including a $15 contribution to the campaign of Trump's opponent, President Joe Biden. That's the whole tweet, because you see, both sides do it. Both sides are corrupt and biased. Millions of dollars in international trips and exclusive all-male like getaways and historic artifacts of American government. He donated $15 to Joe Biden. If I was Joe Biden, I'd actually be mad because the dude is a judge. He definitely had more money than that. This is what CNN decided to inject into the conversation. Thank you, thank you.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.